This is something I've wanted to talk about for a while, and I've ranted about it on stream, and now it's time. Blood Bowl is one of the worst board games ever made, and they've made it into one of the worst computer games ever made. I'm going to explain why. Do you see this sign here? This sign that says no? Do you know what that's for? That's for when people ask me, hey, Pyrian, you going to play Blood Bowl again? This sign is faded and old because I've had it up here for such a long time. It's literally no. People ask about Blood Bowl. Pyrian, when are you going to play Blood Bowl? I'll dip in. I'll see what's changed. I'll have a look. And I'm always disappointed. And I always deeply regret the fact that I ever spent any time at all playing this game. And I've played it a lot, all right? I played Blood Bowl 1. I played Fumble League back in the day. I played Blood Bowl 2 quite a bit when it came out. And I'd get into it and I'd start building the team and I was having a bit of fun. And then you fall into the exact same problems every time of why this game sucks. Fundamentally sucks. And is infuriating in the worst way. The reason it's so infuriating is it could be such a good game. But the designers basically don't give a fuck. And the adjustments they make to the game are shit and make it worse. And the company making the computer versions of Blood Bowl, I don't think even wants to be doing it. They don't even seem to like Blood Bowl. I don't think they even play it, in all honesty. So here's my take on why this game sucks so much, okay? And I'm not angry about the UI. I mean, I'm angry about all that stuff, but that's not my fundamental problem with the game. The primary issue with Blood Bowl, at its core level, is that this is a game that is designed around a d6 dice roll. And a 1 is always a failure, and a 6 is always a success. That is a massive fucking problem with games. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? Ah, that'll be funny. I'll come to why that is not funny in the course of this fucking video. Let me tell you something. That is a terrible fucking design, okay? 17% of the time, something genuinely insane is going to happen. Like, for instance, your ball carrier, Agi-10, the best ball carrier in history. This guy's amazing. He's going to roll a 1 and fail to pick up the ball in the open field with no one around him. 17% of the time. That doesn't make sense. Now you can mitigate that. You can say, oh, but you've got rerolls or sure hands. You need special skills to mitigate a guy with that much agility in an open field with no one around him picking up the ball. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. On the flip side, your troll with no brain, who doesn't even know what the ball is capable of a perfect long throw. 17% of the time. That doesn't make sense. That does not make sense. Try playing Dungeons & Dragons with a d6 in combat. Roll a d6 to hit. You rolled a 1. Yeah, sorry, you missed the kobold. Level 20 barbarian. You missed him. So badly, in fact, that you broke your weapon. 17% of the time. 20% of the time, the halfling gets a critical hit on a red dragon. Yeah, this halfling with a dagger just crit the dragon in the eye. How does that make sense? You would say this is ridiculous. You would say this is ludicrous. 17% of the time, a guy with no lock-picking skill picks the hardest lock in the universe. Unpickable. Rolls a 6. Well, no, sorry, yeah, you do pick the lock. And 17% of the time, the best master thief in the world can't open the latch on a garden gate. It's nonsense. Oh, but Pyrian is just a fun, casual game where goofy stuff happens. It's just meant to be fun and casual fun. That would be true if any of that were actually true, but it's not true. Because this game takes forever to finish. For a fun, casual game, they sure did make it a fucking slog to even finish one match. One match! It doesn't make sense. There's nothing casual about Blood Bowl. If it took 10 minutes to play a match, you could tell me, yes, this is a casual game. But it takes an hour to finish a fucking game of Blood Bowl. Your opponent sits there thinking, yes, ponder, yes, And now when they move a unit, guess what? You're going to watch it. The animation of it getting up. Clum, 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 clum. The animation of it running. You got to watch all that for all his fucking players. And then finally he presses your turn. And there's a little delay in animation. Now it's your turn. Your guy's highlighted. What are you going to do? You're going to spend 10 seconds moving your players? No. You're going to take your time. This is a grand strategy game, period. Oh yes, yes. There's a lot to consider here. Yes. Yes. This is more like chess. If it were like chess, all right. If I would respect it if it actually played out more strategically, more tactically. If there was really a lot of depth to it, but there's not, because whatever you're doing, you get fucked by the dice because it's D6. Fundamentally awful, awful, awful. Here's another fatal flaw. Feeding into that. Leveling up your guys takes too long. Scoring a touchdown is worth 3 experience points. 3. Injuring someone is worth 2. Now let me tell you why that is bad. If I score, I have to give you the ball. Alright? It takes time to score. For most teams, scoring is quite hard. The enemy team is doing everything they can to stop you. It's quite hard. You've got a long way to go. You've got to get past people. You've got to knock guys down. There's quite a lot of dice rolls involved. Some races, yeah, you can score a lot of touchdowns, but only on a couple of your units. 3 points. 3 points for him. What about injuring someone, which is literally just rolling dice and getting lucky? 2 points. Really? And I don't have to give you the ball back. Nope. And the turn doesn't end. Nope. So I could just literally build a team that fucking murders people and level up much quicker than a team that tries to score touchdowns. Yes, you absolutely could do that. Brilliant. That's brilliant. That's really good. That's great game design. And players that get injured might die. So your guy that you've spent 20 or 30 hours leveling up, yeah, he died. Oh, but I've got a medic to save him, right? Yeah, let me roll the dice for that. Oh, because we're on D6, guess what? He died. He died. That he died and then the doctor killed him again. That's a good mechanic. That really makes sense. That way all the hours I put in were for nothing. What's the point? Apparently the lead game designer, the actual guy who designed Blood Bowl, said that people weren't meant to play with highly leveled players. Like, this was just not meant to be a thing. You're basically meant to play with the default races, maybe with a few skills here and there. Where's the fun in that? Everybody loves getting a team up to high TV. That's when it actually gets interesting. When you've got to really look at the team that this guy's built, the strategy and the tactics that this guy's going for. You think, oh, I see what he's done with this build. He can do this, and he's got this guy, and that's very clever. Well, no, just default races. Let's talk about those default races. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about how balanced they are. All right, and this is going back to Blood Bowl 2. Fuck the new rule set. It's still shit. I don't fucking care. Blood Bowl 2. Halflings. Let's talk about halflings. Can you remember what it said in Blood Bowl 2? When you click, this is in the computer game version, gave you a little summary of each team. Do you remember what it said for halflings? The worst team in Blood Bowl. That's great game design. That is, yeah. Some of the races are just fundamentally shit. And then we're also told that we're not really, it's not about leveling up, you guys. Come on, it's about the default races. You know, that's what it's really about. Is that I can just pick my race up out of the box, play yours, and we'll have a fun and balanced game. Nah. Because dwarves exist. Because dwarves exist. And they were like, we'll take 1 movement point off these guys and give them like 4 skills at base level, each of them. Yeah, we'll just fucking make them unbeatable out of the box. Because Games Workshop has a fucking hard-on for dwarves for some reason. Let's actually address the fundamental problem here with the new launch. I don't think that the guys that made Blood Bowl 3 like making Blood Bowl games. I think they felt they had to. Or they were contractually obliged to, or something. There's no love in this game. In Blood Bowl 3, it's made with 0 love. There's no affection for the game. They clearly didn't play Blood Bowl 2. All they had to do was take Blood Bowl 2, update it to the new rules, which is surely not beyond the ken of man. Update it to the new rules. Maybe you could spice the graphics up a little bit, but it was fine, honestly. The interface was fine. The way it played was fine. You can update the UI a little bit, make it slightly nicer, but don't change it too much. New rules, you can bring in the cosmetics thing if you want, bring in the new races if there are some of those. Yeah, sure, you could do that. But instead, you decided to remake it and make it worse, make the launch worse, make the leagues worse, make the menus worse, and then just kind of apologize over and over again. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you failed to get Blood Bowl 3 when you already had Blood Bowl 2. Like, you had... Blood Bowl 1 was an abomination. Then Blood Bowl 2 came along and it was better, but it's still Blood Bowl, so it's still appalling, but it was better. And then Blood Bowl 3 is a huge step back, but you already had Blood Bowl 2. If you just copied it, no one would have been like, well, this is unacceptable, because they bought Blood Bowl 3 anyway, and it's shit. People are going to buy. All we had to do was Blood Bowl 2 is now Blood Bowl 3, and we've improved it a tiny bit. Speed it up, new rules, cosmetics, but you couldn't manage it. You couldn't manage it. I don't understand how it's possible to fuck it up that badly. It's incredible. So my advice to anyone wanting to get in Blood Bowl, do not. You see this sign? Get one and put it in your room. And if anyone mentions Blood Bowl, you just point to this sign. Because anyone who thinks Blood Bowl is a well-designed game, fundamentally, like the actual game, is lying, works for Games Workshop, or is a psychopath. Because the people that like this game, in my opinion, have not played a good game. Because if you have played a good game, good board game, for example, play a good board game, you look at Blood Bowl and it's so obvious that this is a piece of shit. It's so obvious that all of these things, if you try to explain them to someone, if I was pitching a game to you, you'd say, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Oh, that seems a bit... Couldn't you just, do this and do that? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, leveling up players. Wouldn't it make more sense that scoring touchdowns is incentivized? Wouldn't that make sense? Wouldn't it make more sense that players that I've spent 20 or 30 hours leveling up don't just die when they try to run a little bit further? They fail a go for it 17% of the time. They fail that go for it, and then I roll and they die. Can't have substitutions? What is this? Substitutions only at a turnover. So you knock out a couple of my lads and now you spend the half knocking out my players. How is that fun? How is that good game design? That is shit. Because you end up sitting there and watching someone pummeling your team for fucking hours. You're just sitting there watching your team get murdered. What? How is that fun? It's bad game design. The whole game is bad. Don't play it. End of rant.